Welcome to my podcast, Today's Dream, Tomorrow's Reality. My name is Vickie Poole. I'm a master transformational coach and hypnotist specializing in habit change. And this podcast is sponsored by the Enlightened Peach, and it's all about embracing our mosaic life. And some of you may ask, what is a mosaic life anyway? Well, it is recognizing that all the pieces of our life, the good, the bad, the indifferent, have all come together to make us who we are. Change any one thing, and we are different. With that in mind, I invite you to embrace your perceived imperfections and celebrate who you are. This podcast is unedited and raw, just like life. And I am your host, and I have a special guest with you today. I'm so excited to bring her on. But before I do, I want to ask you to do me a solid, and that is leave a comment on this episode. And then also remember to like, subscribe, and share because I have amazing guests, and Tasha's definitely one. I'm so excited to have her here. But the thing is that I want them to have the opportunity to have this message out even bigger than I can offer today. And so how does that happen? With you. So remember, leave a comment and like, subscribe, and share. So now let's get started. So I'm about to bring out this amazing lady, Tasha Chen. And I was just telling her, I was on her live this morning trying to listen because she has amazing information. And the thing is, I've been following her for quite a while and in her groups and watching all the things that she does. And I'm always amazed. And so I reached out to her thinking, she probably won't have time to play with the little old me. And she said yes. So I am so excited to have her here. So let me bring her out. There we go. Hello, Tasha. Thank you for saying yes and being here to share your wonderful gifts.
You were so welcome, Vickie. Thank you for having me. I love that you said, I wasn't sure if she would say yes to little old me. Just so you know, so we start off on the right foot. I really do honor that every opportunity I get to share this message, I welcome, and I'm always a yes. So thank you for even asking.
Oh, wonderful. So why don't you tell just a little bit about you, and then we'll get started with questions.
All right, let's jump right into it. Asking me to tell a little bit about me, though.
Well, you can just allude a little, and then we'll question the hell out of it.
We'll do
Okay?
all the questions and go. So really, my name is Tasha Chen, and I am on a mission to create 100 millionaire women by 2025, December 2025. And what's led me to this mission is that 12 years ago, I found myself in the worst financial reality anyone could ever imagine. I had just filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I was newly divorced with that source of income gone overnight. I had no job, no income, no revenue stream, and really in what I would consider the trifecta of financial trauma. My income source was gone. My mental state around finances was really just left a lot to be desired, and my health was really suffering. And so I realized in that moment that I was the one that was creating my financial reality. And so I went about changing that, and the rest is history. Today, I show women how to do exactly what I did. And in the last 12 years, they've created over $163 million, and I am screaming from the rooftops.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I'll say I have been where you've been before too, and not to say that I'm out of the woods yet. It's one of those processes and everything. That's why I devour all the things that you do, because it is so amazing. And I will say for myself, when I first started on that journey, the hardest thing in the world was to take responsibility for it.
Yes.
Right? Because it's like it was everybody else that had contributed to this space. And so now here I am, the victim, and I got to figure out how to get out. And so kind of, if you don't mind, speak a little bit about that, because I know that is paramount in having a different life.
So for me, what that looked like was I would drop my kids off to school every morning. I'd put on happy mommy face. Ah, life is great. All is well. The world is safe for you. I'd drop them off to school and drive myself back home, literally sit on the kitchen floor and cry for 8 hours till school was out. And what I was crying about was, woe is me. I'm in the worst place I could be financially. I am so full of fear. I don't even, it's like the things that are in front of me to do, I don't even have the courage, the
Mm,
energy, the anything to do them because my mind is filled with so much this or that. You know, one of my biggest fears was, well, if you do go and pursue success and get yourself out of this financial hole, that means you're not going to be free. You're not going to have time for the kids. You're not going to have a life. And so, you know what? Just stay here and have a pity party, you know?
yeah.
So for me, I spent a lot of time in that victim place, in that woe is me, everything is happening to me. And you're absolutely right. The moment, the defining moment for me happened at the mailbox one day where I went to get the mail and the usual suspects were there, as they always were. And it was the evidence of what I had just spent the last 8 hours worrying about: financial, past due bills, uh, unpaid financial obligations. You're just a loser financially, male, you know? And so one particular day, I made eye contact with my son and I realized, oh my gosh, what am I doing? If I don't change this, this is the legacy that I will leave for my kids. And while it wasn't enough, I guess, for me to recognize what I was doing but not change it, seeing what would happen to my kids, oh,
Mm,
that triggered
yeah.
massive. You got to do something about this.
Isn't it
And so
amazing we'll do something for someone else and not for ourselves?
absolutely. It was interesting. It wasn't strong enough for me to change it for me, but realizing what would happen to my kids if I didn't change it. And so the next step was for, the way the responsibility came about for me, which is where I'm trying to get to, was in that moment, what I realized was, wait a second, you have just spent 8 hours in despair financially with your thoughts, and you are now at the mailbox every day. There's a correlation here. you know,
Mhm.
this is you causing this. And yeah, it was really hard to take responsibility for that. But I tell women today, I am so grateful for that moment because actually it is freeing. It helps you to realize I am responsible, therefore I can change it. It's not
Right.
something outside of me. I don't need to go talk to my friend or my boss or the world or the economy. I literally just have to be responsible for me, change me, and then these external circumstances will change. But absolutely coming out of victimhood and saying I'm doing this, that's step number one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have a Facebook group that it's a free group and it's called Make Lasting Change, and it's all about how our mindset works with everything, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I've been talking to them about, because this is our month of magic. April is the magic month.
I love it.
And so it's like they're supposed to be recognizing every day some kind of magic that shows up. And so the one of the examples that I give them all the time is, if you get out of your car in a parking lot and you look down and there's a penny, you pick that penny up and you say, "Thank you, God, for this penny," and you stick it in your bag.
Yeah.
Because what we do a lot of the times, and then we say, "Oh, that's just a penny,"
Right.
just don't worry about picking that up. It's dirty, it's whatever. And I tell them, that is by picking that up and thanking and not saying, well, it's not enough,
Yeah.
then you're actually bringing more abundance into you, more of a vibration of the things that you want, whether it's money or something else you want. It's still being appreciative of that little thing, creates so much movement if you do it.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny, I love that story, and one of the things that I share with my community is when you find a penny, everything is the meaning that we give to it, right? So if
Right.
you see a penny on the floor, you're like, "Ah, dirty penny," walk past it. Maybe you look if it's face up because that's good luck,
Right.
but otherwise it's just you disregard it and you carry on. And so I have trained myself and my community, make it mean evidence of $1 million. 1 penny equals
Mm.
$1 million. So literally, if you found $1 million in a parking lot at Walmart, what would you do?
Yeah.
Right? And so
You wouldn't walk over it for
you
damn
sure would
sure.
not. Treat that penny as if God, universe, source just rained $1 million down in the parking lot just for you to find and go nuts. Now, my kids have not appreciated this growing up. They have not, I gotta tell you. And now my husband is like, you're crazy. But if you see a woman anywhere in the world picking up a penny and going ballistically happy,
Yeah.
screaming in gratitude and joy, she's probably a part of my community.
All right. Well, I will be adopting that. That's for damn sure because that's one of the things I'm really passionate about is that all the little tiny things and it brings me one of the things that I share a lot of times and you've probably heard this before, but I went to a workshop. It's been quite a few years ago. And one of the experiments that they did in the group was they had and there was a whole bunch of people there, they had us all close our eyes and they said that they were going to be putting money out on the ground. And so it was pennies. They
Mhm.
had they had them all over the place. And so they said when they told us to open our eyes, and we were doing like this meditation, in the process. But when we opened our eyes, we were going to gather as many pennies as we could. And the interesting thing is when I opened my eyes and I looked, there were pennies all around our feet. There
Mm.
were some down the aisles, but there were people that, and the thing that they were wanting us to see is that there were people that noticed the pennies right in front of them and gathered them up. Some people left their seat and went looking for more. Some people gathered some, but ended up when they found out somebody didn't have any, they gave all of theirs away.
Oh, wow.
And then there were people with all of that. There were people that were wandering around when they had us had everything stopped that
Yeah.
never found a penny.
Wow.
And so they were demonstrating how it was the same experience for everybody, but we all had a different thing that showed up for us depending on how we felt inside. And so,
Yeah.
like for me, I gathered the pennies that were around me, but I didn't go out looking for more because I
Mhm.
wanted to leave some for
For
others
other people.
you
Yeah.
know? And so I realized after that that I had a really big thing about, you know, if I did too well, that took away from someone else. And
Mm.
that was very, very eye opening for me. But the more eye opening thing was the amount of people, because there were quite a few people that never found a penny. They wandered around, they looked, never found one. And it was like so amazing because there was still some on the ground
Yeah.
you know so I just wanted to share that because that was such a profound day. Just that one thing was well worth the money I spent going to that event you know it
That
was so powerful.
that is really powerful. You have my mind going.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. That's a really powerful exercise. Yeah. Eye-opening.
Yeah, it definitely was for me. So like I said, I was listening to your group thing this morning, and I missed a good bit of it because I was sharing my technology was doing some weird things, and the eclipse is going to be in about 45 minutes, right?
Yep.
Yep, yep.
Yep.
Um, so I don't know if that's what it was or whatever, but for what I saw, you were sharing about something that you have coming up. That because I did see enough that I put in the text, so that I could get the info to buy the thing.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So do you want to share some about what you got coming
Absolutely.
up?
Absolutely. So I'll tell you why I'm doing this class,
Okay.
and then I'll tell you about it. In my work, I mean, I have served over 60,000 women with really stepping up their financial game. And there's some things that I notice as just these are like the low hanging fruit that every single woman can tend to in order to ascend financially. And one of the things is looking at our money story and recognizing this money story. And I did an example this morning where I said, I want you to take a sheet of paper, divide it in half, and on the right side, do these three things. Number one thing is write how much money you made last year. The second thing is write how that money came. How did it feel? Okay, I made 100,000, but you know what? I'm exhausted. I worked my behind off for that 100,000. Or yes, I made 100,000, but there were months where I had nothing. And then there were other
Mhm.
months where it came in abundance, you know? So just write about how it showed up and how it felt. And then the last one is, what are your dominant thoughts about your finances? Is it one of concern, worry, fear? And just jot these three things down on one side of the sheet. And then on the other side, imagine that your financial reality, the way it is right now, were a movie. You are playing the leading role in this movie. What is the role that you're playing when you look at yourself and your finances? And that story I told you about me 12 years ago, I was playing victim. I was
Mhm.
playing victim. I was Cinderella waiting for my fairy godmother to come solve all my problems,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Something to come along and solve it all. And for most of the women that I serve, that's what's happening. They're playing victim in the story that relates to their money. And what I pointed out was what you get on the right side, the amount of money you make, how it flows, how you feel about your finances is a direct result of what's on the left. And that's the story you're telling. And I know that for most women, we have an identity in this money story. It has been created and shaped by the people we love the most: your mother, your father, your grandparents, people you admire, your teacher, your pastor. And they have literally, it's like the four agreements. They have come in and said, agreement number one is this is how you are going to live related to money. And we went, uh huh, uh huh.
Yeah.
And so here we are because we are wired to conform, to be a part of, to go follow the rules. And so what happens is we agree to that identity and we're telling a money story that we're living out, and it's showing up on the right side of the sheet, right?
Mhm.
So I decided this is an easy fix. This one is an easy fix. Let us do a masterclass, and it's called the Money Story Makeover Masterclass. And it's really meant to show you how the people you admire impact and continue to impact your financial reality, those you love the most, whether they're here or not, how you have identified yourself as having a certain financial experience. So, one lady that I shared this with, she said, in my movie, I'm driving in a convertible. There's a ton of money in the back of the car, and I'm so happy about that. But I am speeding on the highway and it's just flying out. It's just flying out the back of the car. And so it makes you realize in her identity,
She couldn't keep
she,
it.
she has created, that I am the woman who doesn't keep money. I can make it, can't keep it, don't know where it goes, right?
Yeah.
And so just realizing the identity that you have and how it's showing up in your finances, but ultimately, let's do the work to change this so that the right side changes. We have more zeros next year.
Yeah.
It flowed with ease. And we step into this feeling of, I am deserving of this wealth that I desire. So that's why we're doing the Money Story Makeover Masterclass. And if anyone happens to be listening in time, it's April 25th. And they can find out more at tashachen.com/story.
All right, perfect. Well, I'll just share real quick a little bit of my money story. Now,
Yeah.
my parents, I remember it being a little scarce when I was really young, but then they were entrepreneurs, and then it got to where, money didn't seem to be an issue. They had
Mm,
new cars, they had all that stuff. Um, and then I had an uncle that was very wealthy.
okay.
And it seemed like he was sometimes giving my mom opportunities to invest in things. But even though they were not poor by any means, she didn't feel that she could do that investment. She needed to make sure she had this cushion here, right?
Yeah.
And so there were many times that if she had invested in whatever he proposed to her, like buying land and different things, that she would have like exponentially gotten benefits from it, right? And then I grew up in a family of hairstylists. Now, my uncle was actually a hairstylist too, the one that was
Mm,
very wealthy, but he also was in real estate and all these different things. And his belief system was, and he would share it quite often, that if he lost everything today and had to move to another state, he could open up a salon and have a full book in 2 weeks.
yep.
And, and I remember thinking, how in the hell do you do that? So he was a person that I would meet with quite often. And it's the thing that would drive me crazy because my mom's story was it's feast or famine.
Yeah.
Because in the salon business you have a whole bunch of clients and then you might have a month that it's really slow, and so you have to always be prepared for that month that's going to be scarce.
Yeah.
And so that was my mom's attitude. Now, my uncle, I remember telling him one time he was talking about they were all going to be going on a cruise. And I said, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. He said, well, come with us. And I said, well, I can't do that. And he said, well, why not? And I said, well, I don't have enough money. And he said, then do something. And I thought, well, I'm doing everything I can, I'm working, I'm doing.
Yeah.
But then the other example that he had that I'm working through is that, but I know why he did it now, but he was like married to his business. He was there
Mhm.
all the time. He expected his employees to be there all the time for these classes and these things. And he had amazing money, but he was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he still went and did things, he traveled a
Yeah.
lot and stuff. But what I saw was his grindstone thing.
Yeah.
But then after he passed away, and I was thinking a lot about it, and I thought, well, to him, it probably didn't feel like a grindstone. It was what he loved. And all those years, I had felt like in order to have what he did, the level of prosperity that he had, you had to work 24/7.
Right.
And so I had all these different things going on. And even though I recognized them, I'm still, find them showing up in my life in different ways.
That is, there's so much to unpack
I know, I
in
know.
your story. I think the part that I really love are the two extremes, right? You've got mom over here saying, always remember to have a cushion, you
Mhm.
know,
She
it's
even
gonna
had me keep
dry
a
up.
she even had me keep $100 bill in my purse
Yeah.
so that if I went on a date or I went and did something and I needed to have a way to get home, then I always had the money there and
Yeah.
to do that. So it wasn't like a prosperity thing, it was an emergency thing.
Exactly. I was gonna say, right there we go with just a simple story.
Yeah,
Your mother said, keep $100 in case of emergency. You need it. You're in a situation that you need to be free from, right? I
right.
tell my kids, keep $100 so you attract more abundance.
Yeah,
You
very
know,
different story.
same scenario, different story. You are living out that story. And what's interesting is you've got your mom who modeled for you, it's going to run out. And then you've got your uncle who's like, oh, money is abundantly available. And if it should all dry up, easy. I know how to get it back, right?
Yeah.
So you go, huh? And you've got these two extremes. Which do I choose? And so you look at your uncle, which human nature is, well, I want that. Right?
Mhm.
I want that. And then as you look at it, you're like, but wait a second, he's having to sacrifice a lot to have it. And so what's interesting is you said later on you realize he probably was enjoying his work. People would look at me and say, wow, well, for example, when I travel, I still want to do my Monday morning lives. And my husband, he's like, no. And I'm like, I love it. I want to show up for them. I love it. So because of the lens that you wore, you interpreted that work as hard work, as sacrifice, as grinding. And it's just the lens that you look through. And obviously you then said, no, you know what? For that amount of money, yay. But for what it takes, no.
Yeah.
Right? So it's so interesting to see, again, the choices that we make, that we are subconsciously making because of the identity that we've chosen for ourselves financially, and really getting to the space. And that's why I'm doing this masterclass. Is it's like reading the four agreements. And the four agreements, the very first one, or the preface of the book, talks about how you come into this world and everyone that's here says, this is a red pen. And you had no choice in deciding if it's red, if you want to call it red, if you want to call it a pen, if you should write with it or play. Like, we had no choice. We just said, okay. And we
Mhm.
agreed. And so now that we have all of this wisdom and knowledge and more enlightenment, we get to choose now. I am the one who decides. But becoming aware of the story that we've been living by, and then putting yourself in a process to reframe it, to decide, to choose is freeing. Is
Yeah.
freeing. And as amazing as it is for the freedom, the true result is that you add a few more zeros.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what I know we all really want, right?
Definitely. Definitely. Well, I got a question for you. So when you go back to when you were a young girl, so what
Yeah.
kind of relationship was money then with your family?
So I had the people ask me, how did you end up doing this work? And I said, when I look back at my childhood, it is very clear this was what I was going to do, even though I didn't see it and would never have guessed this for myself at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But my mom had me at 18. And so that meant she needed to go get a job to take care of me. She was kicked out of high school because she was pregnant, and so she also got kicked out of her home because she was pregnant, and so she had to leave me with relatives and go work to fend for herself. My father also said, "Yeah, no, I'm not gonna help you." No. So I mean, just even more financial need, right? And for her to
Right.
find a way to provide. And so I didn't live with my mom again till I was 10. And
Okay.
what happened for me was I, as a child, associated the absence of love and affection for money,
Yeah.
right? So I grew up with this, not that my mom didn't love me. I don't think I had that level of awareness, but it was like, I can't live with my mom because she has to work and working so she can make money, right? And so that's why I don't have this safety, this love, this being with my mom like everyone else is with their mom and dad. And it really created a story around love or money.
Yeah.
Love
So
or money.
meaning you have to choose one or the other.
Yeah. And
Okay.
so, for me, as you probably know, one of the other things that I teach is, like I said, the doing the work to change your money story is easy. That's low hanging fruit. But the next level after that is looking at the traumas that you have around money. And I had a sense of the lack of safety, right? The energy of the lack of safety because my mom wasn't there in those formative years. My dad wasn't there in those formative years. And both were not there because of money for different reasons, but because of
Mm-hmm.
money. And it really created this sense of uh, I, I have to choose. I have to decide. And how that's shown up. I mean, I got divorced over money. you
Mm-hmm.
know, um, there were periods before I realized this where every time I went to achieve the next level financially, my relationships would just,
Crumble.
yeah, be a mess. I could see myself literally set up. It's like I could sit back and watch how I set it all up, put everything in place so that it's like I know I'm going to go to the next level. And then over here in my relationships, I create a fight, I create, discontent, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
because I was always having to choose, and I had to really do the work on that story.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Well, I know for me, I've been married twice, and both of them money was a huge, huge deal, you know. And let's face it, I think there are so many relationships out there that end and are have all this angst all around money
Yeah.
because, they're not having enough. But
Yeah.
then there are those that have enough or more than enough, and it's still an issue, you know. So relationships and money can be a pretty precarious place, right?
My husband says it best. He says money is power in a relationship.
Mhm.
And one of the things that happened when we met, he was like, he assumed that I made a lot more than he did. Right.
Mhm.
And so he was like, this is going to be interesting for me because I've never been in a relationship with a woman who makes more than me. And how are we going to handle that? And because I know my story, right? And I know the story that can rear its head for me with money and relationships. This was our second date. I was like, let's talk money. Let's get it out of the way right now. And so it's been interesting to see. And funny, he backed down. He was like, no, I'm not ready. you know Fast forward, we're married, and I know I carry my own work into our relationship, and so I know I'm having to really watch for opportunities to heal this, as well as just to be you know, really, so we found out he makes more than me. And I want to say thank God, but he keeps saying to people, he publicly says that my wife is, gonna generate more money than me, and I'm having to just be okay about that. And he tells his family, he tells his kids. But one of the things that we've had to do in our relationship is really um, put love put love above who makes what and how we
Right.
do what with money, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I say getting divorced taught me a lot about being married.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, one of the things that you said I just loved, and I'd like for you to expand on that a little bit if you don't mind. But one of the things you said was that you look for the opportunities to heal some of those things in your relationship.
Yeah.
And most of the time, we're looking to avoid those things, but you're looking to have them brought up so that you can take care of them. And that's beautiful, beautiful.
Now, Vickie, I almost want to say now, don't try this at home. Because one of the things I know about myself, and this is just because of my work, because of who I am, I'm so committed to ascension, right? And
Hmm.
self-actualization. And the normal person isn't doing the level of work on themselves that I am, or doesn't have the support that I've had to be able to do this work. So I just want to say that, because what you'll hear me and go, oh my gosh, I'm a failure,
Yeah.
And it's not that. I'm probably just an overachiever in this way. So one of the things that I give you a very specific example, my husband, if you know me, I don't love the words debt and I don't love the words budget.
Hmm.
And so they have very negative connotations, very limiting energetically, they're low vibration. And so, as we're getting into our relationship, I have shared with my husband, yeah, no, we're not doing any budgets, right? And he'll say, babe, you can call it your fantasy free fun budget if you want to. And we just laugh about it.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I'm getting dressed one morning and he walks in a bathroom, and we had been having some conversations where I had said, one thing that would really be an amazing financial achievement for me, and you're going to laugh at this, is to have my house cleaner come every week instead of every 2 weeks, to have her come
Hmm.
every week. And so my husband's like, well, I know you can afford that, so why aren't you doing it? And I was like, well, because it's just me and Sebastian here. He travels most weeks, and so I can't justify it. The house isn't messy enough. He's like, yeah, but you want it and you can afford it, so why aren't you doing it? So anyway, we have this whole debacle for a couple weeks. And one morning he walks in as I'm getting dressed, and he says, babe, what's your food budget? And I went into instant resistance and anger, and I like turned and I sharply responded to him. It's like, what do you mean my food budget? I don't know. He's like, you don't know how much you spend on food every day? I'm like, no. He goes, and then he makes it worse. He goes, because I see you going to the grocery store every day. So you've got to be spending a lot. And now I'm really concerned because you don't know how much you're spending and you don't have a budget. Oh, Vickie, this is all the things that just speak to my, like, no, no, no,
Hmm.
don't limit me. Don't put me in a box. And so he is just like, just yanking at me with these comments. And I'm getting more and more angry. And I see myself, and I have this momentary awareness where I'm like, oh my gosh, you're really angry and you're about to lash out at him now. Remember, I said I put love over money, right? So when I
Hmm.
see myself in that situation, I just take a breath and I'm like, oh man, like you're not going to be loving right now. And instantaneously, like this is all happening real time, all together at the same time. I say to myself, what is this? And I realize, oh my gosh, this is not even to deal with my husband. It's my ex-husband who would always ask me, well, what's your contribution to the budget? How much are you making that we're going to put on this budget? And you can't just spend all you want. And it was all of my trauma from that marriage coming up in this moment with my current husband, who's literally having the conversation so I can get what I want, which is to pay for a cleaner every week. And so I tell you that entire story to go, I caught what was happening, that I was really about to lash out in anger, but it was really trauma from my ex-husband. And so I was like, oh, Tasha, you got to heal this, because this poor guy has nothing to do with that. And he's about to get the brunt of all of that because it's unhealed. You
Mm-hmm.
know? So then that for me is, I have a process that I teach around healing money traumas, and I take myself through it a lot. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like, I share with some people in my group that, things come up all the time, and it is to bring our awareness to something that needs to be healed in us. And so because I go in my group every single day and do an affirmation and a journal prompt.
Okay.
And so one of those, I was telling them that their goal for the day and for the week was to, every time something came up that was like, felt kind of tight and angst, to just kind of give it some love and look and see what is it bringing to my awareness, so that I can do something about it. And that if we start looking at our obstacles as a gift of some kind,
Yep.
then they don't feel so hard.
Yeah.
And but that is very good in theory, not always easy to do in the moment. I will
Or
say.
or I found myself this morning in this exact situation, and I was sharing with my goddesses that those are the women that work with me at the highest level. And so one of my promises to them is, I'm going to be transparent with you as I process the not so flowery stuff, you
Right,
know?
right.
And so I found myself triggered by a Facebook post of someone that has been in my life. And I instantly saw myself go, brush it off. I don't want to think negative. I don't want to have this feeling. So let me just shove it under the rug and move on. And in the moment, I was like, wait a second, that happened. What scared me was the automatic way I saw that I had had this judgmental response to the post. It was automatic. I thought the thought that was judging, and then my next automatic response was, yeah, just brush it away, move on, go to another post, don't think like that, you know? And people
Mhm,
would say, yeah, that's what you want to train yourself to do, is to not think a negative thought or not stay there. But for me, I know that what you resist persists. And so I recognized, I was like, oh my gosh, I literally A, automatically had judgment, B, automatically brushed it away. And so now what I realized was, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to
mhm.
feel this unpleasant thing that is inside of me when I get triggered by this person. And so I made myself sit and feel it, you
Yeah.
know? And to your point, it's easier to say you're going to do that than to actually do it. And maybe we don't get to doing it every single time. I think we are driven by rewards. So why
Mhm,
would I do that? Why would I make myself sit through such an unpleasant thing? Because if you understand energy and frequency, and you understand that the fact that you are having those thoughts and those feelings, and it's energetically low, right? Frequency very low, therefore attracting things that are a match to that. You want to do everything in your power as quickly as you can to ascend out of it, you know? That's the
definitely.
reward. Yeah, that's why you want to do it. You want to sit there till you can bring that feeling to love or gratitude or peace, so that you raise your vibration, if nothing else.
Right. Well, I've got a similar story, not the Facebook post, but I was sharing with some people the other day in my group, because I try to be transparent with them too, and sometimes I may be too transparent.
It's for their greater good.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, I had somewhere I had to go. I was in the car, and I get as I come up to the red light. There's the light is red, and there's a street right across from me. It's a neighborhood coming out, and there was a truck sitting there. He didn't have his blinker on, so I didn't know where he was going to go. But I was going to be taking a left, and there was a car behind me. So when the light turns green, I'm pausing to see, is this guy going to go straight? Is he going this
Right.
way? What is he doing?
Yeah.
And the car behind me starts honking, pissed me off. I said, what? And then I turned and I thought, what the heck? So I even went and pulled off on the side of the road. And I thought, okay, it was just a moment. Why the heck did that honking make me so angry? And And the reason that it was important to me to work through that is because there was a time a few years ago that I was involved in like several car accidents. None
Mm,
of them were my fault. I was driving the
mm.
car, it was like I was on some kind of event, people
Yeah,
were coming at me.
yeah.
And when I evaluated it as I started down this path of trying to see, I realized that every one of those accidents, I was in this mental chatter of being angry or pissed or upset or
Mm,
feeling like somebody was taking advantage of me. There was something going on in my mind every time that brought them, right?
wow.
And so when I pulled off to the side of the road, it was because, okay, I don't want to be riding down the road any further than this with that anger
Yeah,
in me,
yeah.
because that's when somebody's going to clip me,
You're
you
gonna
know?
attract the
Yeah, yeah.
energetic equivalent of it. Yeah,
Yeah, so it was like, "Okay, let me work through this for a moment, see where it's coming from, and release it so
yep.
that I can be on my way."
Amen, sister.
Yeah,
Amen.
yeah, yeah. It becomes an amazing thing as you work with people like with you, and you learn more and more about your mental chatter and that what's going on, like, with our vibration coming out and going out into the world, we have to even be more aware of who we're being
Yeah,
so that we know what we're attracting like a magnet to us. So that's one of the things that I love about your work, is because, you know, money has always felt like an elusive thing. If I got it and everything, that's when, the car would break down and I'd have to spend it. Or all of a sudden I'd have this crazy wild hair, I've got to buy that
yeah,
because that's going to
you're
make
right.
my life better.
Yeah,
And then I buy it, and then later on, it's like, oh, I shouldn't have bought that. Now I can't
right.
pay for this.
Yeah,
And that was the pattern that I had for so many years. Not to say that I'm completely out of the pattern.
yep,
I feel
yep,
like I'm still definitely a work in progress. I'm not financially where I would like to be.
yeah,
But as I keep doing this work, I know I feel like it's like right in front of me. I just got to stretch just a touch more to make it happen.
yeah.
So I'm saying all that to say thank you, thank you, thank you for all the
Oh,
stuff you share. And the thing that I want people that are listening or watching to be aware is that you have so much free content out there that people can kind of, get in and see what you're about and actually make movements in their life. It's not all about, you got to buy this $10,000 program. Um, so I just want people to be aware that you have so much available just for kicks and giggles, I guess you could
you
say.
know what? I appreciate that. It's a little more than kicks and giggles
Yeah,
because I
I know, I
really
know.
am. And I feel like you know me well enough to know I am really committed to women realizing we have lived a lie that says we have to effort really hard to create money. It's just a
Mhm,
lie that we've agreed to. And I am really passionate about showing, actually, you have the power within you to create wealth on your terms, in your way, as much as you want, as little as you want, in an easier way than you have been going about it so far. And one of the things that I love that's free, I
mhm.
love giving people to say, you know what, just try this. Try this for 30 days is my gratitude for money journal.
Okay.
It's a 30-day download. Download it, and every day gives you a prompt, a different prompt every day, how to express gratitude for money. And so I want to share anyone that wants that. It's tashachen.com/gratitude. tashachen.com/gratitude. And here's why that's so easy. Gratitude carries an energetic frequency that attracts back to you whatever you're being grateful for.
Mhm.
And it attracts it with speed and ease. That's a spiritual law. It's a law of cause and effect. You cause the thing to come back to you in abundance and with speed when you are grateful for it. So, you have $5 in the bank today. Man, I am so grateful for this $5.
Yeah.
Now you put out the gratitude for for what you have, and it magnetizes and brings to you. Oh, you saw that Tasha was being grateful for $5. She really that makes her really happy, really content, really all the things that are high vibration. Let me give her more. The next thing you know, the next day I have $10, right? And so I just want to share with anyone that's listening. That's a free resource. I do a Facebook Live every Monday morning at 8 a.m. You have years and years of that you can go back and listen to. But I think the gratitude journal is just a practical way to start to see for yourself how just by being grateful, you can attract more money.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Um, One of the things that I think a lot of people have a problem with, and maybe you can address this, is that a lot of times people think, well, then if I'm grateful for the $5, then why is it going to give me more? And so, like, one of the things that I've noticed in people is that they only want to look at, where they're going to go and not being appreciative of where they are because they're afraid that means they'll be stuck where they are.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And you know what? It's like I have so reprogrammed my mind that even listening to you say that, my mind is literally right now going, do not compute, do not compute, do not compute. Okay. So after I cancel that, because I really am, my heart's desire is to help everyone, every person listening. When you are grateful, there's two things to be grateful for constantly. Be grateful for what you have and be grateful for what you're asking for. So when you're grateful for what you have, if you are not grateful for what you have and you're constantly only looking for what you want in the future, your mind in that practice will be focused on the lack of what's not there. So I have $5. I'm not even going to pay that any attention because really, what can I do with $5? I really want $5,000. So you know
Right.
what? I'm going to amplify my gratitude for $5,000. Actually, in doing that, in disqualifying the $5 that you have, believe it or not, you are disregarding what you have in this moment, saying it doesn't matter, you don't care about it, you only want the $5,000. And it's a little bit, it's being ungrateful.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And when you are in that state, the only thing that's going to happen, even though you think, oh no, I'm being grateful for what I want, the $5,000, you're not going to be able to help yourself but to constantly see the lack, the difference between the $5 and the 5,000. When is my 5,000 coming? When is my 5,000 coming?
Right.
If you can steep yourself in gratitude, in fact, I practice doing this. It's like I told you about finding a penny. I treat that $5 as if I have 5 million in the bank. I put the same level of gratitude for my $5 as if it were 5 million. The same way I'd be grateful at that level, I do it right now for $5.
Okay.
What you have to understand is everything that exists is a form of energy. Everything that exists is responding to a frequency energetically. When you can feel so grateful for $5 as if it's 5 million, you are emitting an energetic frequency that is aligned to more, 5 million, grateful for what I have in this moment. And the response, this is science, in frequency must come back to you in the form that matches that. And so it's just as important for you to be grateful for what you have right now. In fact, be grateful as if it were what you want,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And
Yeah.
so I spend as much time in that. And then when I think about the 5,000 or the 5 million or the 500 million, whatever the number is in the future, I also go to that and I express gratitude, but I do it for both.
Okay. Beautiful. I love that. I love that. One of the mentors that I have had before, what he was said that he would do was like if he had money in his wallet and it was a whole bunch of ones, he would take them out and count them like they were hundreds, and he would
Mm,
he would count the money.
love
So
that.
whatever the dollar amount was, he would add zeros to it so that it helped his train his mind a little bit more about his prosperity. And then I've heard, is it Rhonda? Burns or whatever from The
Rhonda
Secret.
Burns. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that she said she did was that when she got the bills in the mail or a credit thing that was trying to collection and all that stuff, and she would look at the total and she'd say, "Thank you so much for that money." And she would make it that that was money they were giving her, not money they were trying to get from
From
her.
her.
And
Yeah.
that helped her. And I've tried that. But it's like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking,
This
okay,
for real.
this isn't real, right?
I hear you. I
Yeah.
hear you.
Yeah.
It's definitely a journey, and it's practice. It really is. I have found that it's worth it to do it. Yeah, it's like getting the offers in the mail from your credit card. $30,000, and you're like, yeah, and that's 30,000 in debt. I'm gonna be if I take it. I've just really had to go, wow, somebody wants to give me $30,000.
Yeah.
That's all I need to do. Thank you. Trash.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it really is just getting yourself in the practice. Even coupons, for a long time, I was like, well, clipping coupons is really not an abundant practice. And then I realized, wow, I could literally, somebody just wants me to keep more of my money. Why, thank you. you know?
Well, that's a
So
good
it
reframe
really
there.
is.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is just the game that you play, the mental game that you play, and recognizing, wait a second, I'm trying to do this practice, but I have some, not so aligned thoughts in the back of my mind. Let me just let that go away and really just focus on this thing that I'm doing and thinking so that I can attract more wealth.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. I definitely love the reframe from the coupons because
Yes.
I have heard so many prosperity coaches and everything that tell you don't do coupons and everything because then you're telling the universe that you don't have enough and all that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so then I would think, but I really want to save that dollar.
Thank you for getting me to keep some of my money.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. So now I'll be doing some of those digital coupons that they have
There you
now.
go. There you go. I love
Oh.
it.
So we're getting close to time. So is there something that maybe I haven't asked that you would like for me to ask or something that you want to share with everybody before we go?
I think every time I get a chance to talk um, about this topic of money and wealth and being able to have as much of it as we desire, and not just to have it, but to create it with ease, right? My whole thing is wealth with ease. Um, the thing that I can talk about your money story, and I can really walk you through healing your money traumas and what's the most powerful money trauma that's affecting probably 99% of all women. I can always go there. But the thing that I never usually get a chance to talk about is deservingness.
Mm.
And I've written a book on this because I cannot tell you how many women I have served in the 12 years. They've all come into a group. I share the same knowledge with everyone, the same steps, the same practices, the same things to do. And some women just pick it up and make millions, right? Other women, I notice that they go a little bit slow, and I'm like, what's going on? You all have the same information. And through my own relationship journey and finding myself in a very toxic relationship, having to run for my life, kind of toxic, I ended up in a conversation with God where it's like, all right, give me the scoop. What is this? This is not me. How am I in this situation? And the answer was, Tasha, this is what you believe you deserve. And being the wise woman that I am, I decided to argue with God. I was like, are you nuts? I don't believe I deserve this crappy, toxic, hurtful situation. And I could just imagine God just smirking and going, okay, argue with me, but look at what you have because that's what you believe you deserve. And in that moment, Vickie, I realized, oh my goodness, this is what's happening with my women. They too, like I wanted a happy, healthy relationship. They want money, but they don't believe they deserve it.
Yeah.
And so that is, if I can leave, anytime I have a conversation, I can leave women with just a thought. It is literally to plant this seed in your consciousness. And it is I am deserving of wealth with ease. I deserve it. And just allow that thought to just like start to percolate. Now, you're probably going to have to do some work to get there, but there's a lot that can happen just because you are allowing yourself to embrace that. I am deserving of wealth with ease. I deserve it. Right. So that would be my last parting thought to gift for your listeners.
Ah, wonderful. Well, I will tell everyone that when I actually have this posted out, the in the description, I'm going to have a little bit about the episode, and then I'm going to have all the links for you to be able to connect with Tasha. And I'm sure there'll be a link in there to her book so that you can get started right away with some of this if you're not able to connect with her in the moment, but you can at least get the book and then start reaching out from there because it's really, really important work. Definitely. So, thank you again, Tasha, for being here. I'm so grateful and appreciative of you and all your work. And so, I'm going to leave all of my listeners with my lasting words, which is the best way to predict the future is create it. So, what are you creating? And with that, I say bye bye. That is, if I can get to the little place where it says stop record.